Nice. Let's see if I can get my coordination. What up? Yeah, he said I was energetic, but I would say that's incorrect because I am very energetic. So, my name is Johnny Kwok, and today I would like to talk about something that I've been thinking about for a very long time. Probably since the first year after I became a product manager, almost 10 years ago. And it's a funny idea because I really like product management. It's a super cool thing, you know, you get to do a little bit of everything, you get to be a part of everything, you get to be a part of growing things, and it's just a super cool feeling. And especially if you have an entrepreneur background, it kind of lines up to the same skill sets, you know? And I think a lot of people would resonate with those words. But like every fucking job, there's a lot of shitty stuff that happens. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the shitty stuff I'll be talking about, you've experienced at least once or twice, or every single week of your lives. So let's get into it. But before that, maybe I should talk about why maybe I'm okay at talking about the subject. I work at a company currently called AirHelp. AirHelp is a similar company to some other companies out there. We're a flight delay compensation company. So what we do is we get you money when your flight is delayed, and we take a percentage. We're the biggest global player. We're about 6 years old now, and we went through the Y Combinator class of 2014. If you don't know Y Combinator, it's the fucking dopest incubator in the world. The dopest companies come out of there. Dropbox, Bookings.com, Stripe, all the coolest. AirHelp, like I said, all the coolest. So we're pretty big. We've grown about 200% year over year for 6 years. We're about 650 people as of today. We have an office in Berlin. We have an office in Gdansk, Danzig for those Germans, and Krakow. And that's split up 70 or 80 people in Berlin, 300-400 people in Danzig, and then the rest are in Krakow. We are active in about 30 countries. We're serving about 16 languages, and we've helped about 10 million passengers up to today. So, a little about me. I'm not so special, but this is my management team. They're very special. But I'm the CPO at AirHelp. I manage about, I think currently 48 people. We should be at 55 by the end of the year. That's about 17 product managers, I think, a lot of data people, all the designers, and some growth people. So at AirHelp, I mainly set the strategy, I train the team, and I kind of initiate all the high-level things. My team is much better at doing the actual work. Before that, I worked at a company called Rocket Internet, which most of you have probably heard of if you live in Berlin. And there I worked for about 2 years, building some new companies and launching them. And before that, I worked at a company called Match.com, which is the biggest dating company in the world. They own some things you might have heard of, such as OkCupid, or maybe Tinder. It's always awkward when I say that name. I don't know why. It's probably because I know what you do in your free time, and I know how it looks like, and I've seen you in my metrics. So there's nothing to hide from me, trust me. I know how all of you behave on dating sites. All of the dating sites. So, and before that, I played poker for 2 years professionally, full time. I bought my first house playing poker because I'm fucking crazy. And before that, I worked in fashion for 8 years. Yeah, kind of a weird career. And before that, I made video games for 2 years as an artist. And before that, I worked in a comic book store for 6 years in high school. So, now you know everything about me. It's like we went on a Tinder date already. By the way, I'm the Asian guy in the photo. I get mixed up with the tall white guy in the corner, but that's not me. Yeah, just FYI. Okay, so, I'm not a very structured person. I'm kind of a fucking mess. So this is kind of the agenda. The slides are all over the place, so bear with me. We're going to talk about some really common problems I've seen, some reasons for why those problems exist in our lives, and potentially some solutions you could use in your day-to-day. So the first thing is problems. So in my job and in some of my previous positions, I've had an opportunity to interview a lot of product managers. Because I hire a lot of product managers. And I think up to date, I've probably spoken to more than 100 plus product managers. More importantly, I've spoken to a lot of VPs, directors, chief product officers all over the world. I make it a personal task that every 2 weeks I speak to another executive from another company to learn about what's going on there and what problems they encounter. And if that's something that you don't do, I highly encourage you to do that as well. So what do 100 plus product managers that I've interviewed all share in terms of pain points? Well, I'm gonna give a second of silence as you absorb these points in. A common problem as a product manager is like conflicting priorities. I hate that fucking word, priorities. You gotta prioritize. The roadmap is fucking full. I don't want to do that. It's not on brand. It's not a good customer service. You know, there's all these kind of like reasons why conflicting priorities happen across every department in the company. You know, there's no understanding of product management. The company I work at, they don't know what product management is. They don't know what my role is. They don't know how badass I am. So that happens a lot too, right? And the third thing is, God, it's a fucking pain to deal with so many departments, with so many different people, with different skill sets, different goals, and just everything is conflicting all the time. And it's kind of like your job to be in the middle of that chaos, you know? It's kind of the point of your position. It's kind of the point of my job, I think. And it's really tough because no one is technically evil, or maybe some people in your company, but most people are not evil. But most people can't really agree on what priorities are, you know? And so that's a big challenge for product managers, and it causes the most discomfort about their jobs. Is like, and I'll give you an example. So a product manager is a good product manager. He goes, he looks at some data, he thinks about the market, and he comes up with a dope-ass feature. He's super excited about it. So then he talks to some engineers, and they're like, well, that's too complex to do it that way. Maybe we can cut half the scope, and we can ship it earlier, but you won't have all the cool UI, and it can't be animated. And you go, okay, but better than nothing. You're laughing because it's fucking true. Then next thing, this fucking marketing department wants to come by and go, oh, the colors are off, it's not on brand, it's actually a different hex of blue, or it's too dark, or you know, the customers won't understand that statement. Oh, it's the fucking worst, I hate those fuckers. and then you know, you get this random department called sales. And then they come in, they go, yo, you need to add more fucking features so we can sell that shit. It's not enough features. So then what, you go back to the top, you talk to engineers, you go for the whole cycle, and then 2 years later, you release 2 things. That sucks. Oh, and then don't forget, this motherfucker comes, and he wants to change everything! All the fucking time! Every goddamn week! It's fucking terrible. It's a shitty existence. No, I'm kidding. It's not that bad. But it seems to happen all the time with every single product person I've ever met. If this doesn't happen to you on a monthly basis, you're probably not a product manager. You're probably a project manager or something, you know? And you know, the funny thing is, this wouldn't bother you if you didn't give a fuck. Like, if you didn't really give a fuck about what you did, it wouldn't bother you. But you do give a shit. And this is why it bothers you. So, you know, through the previous process that I've just talked about, you get dope-ass outputs like this. Amazing. It's on brand. It's technically viable. The CEO likes it. You don't like it. But you know, I think there's worse examples. I mean, this is amazing. It's super low-tech. It's on brand as well. The CEO thought it would be easier if people could click instead of type, because that makes a lot of fucking sense at the end of the day, but okay. So, you know, a lot of shitty things happen in that process, you know, and a lot of things get broken, and then people don't know how it ended up like this. And it's funny, because, you know, every product manager, when they look at other companies, and they look at the output of the releases of things, and they're like, man, that shit sucks. Why would you do something like that? You know why. You fucking know why. But why the fuck are you such dicks about it? But you know, every time you look at something, oh, that is so terrible. I would never release that. But you do. You do. You fucking release shit all the time that's shitty. Don't forget that. But why does it happen? Like, why do we argue? Why is it that we can't get along? Why is it we're not aligned on the same fucking goals all the time? Why is that? I don't know. That's the end of the talk. No, I'm just kidding. So, maybe before we get into the specific reasons why things end up like that, and why you end up in these really drawn-out, boring-ass conversations about the same thing, and then you're digging into every pixel, you should probably start with asking, what is product management? And it seems like a funny question, because one of my favorite questions that I ask product managers during an interview is, what's the difference between a project manager and a product manager? And you'd be so surprised by how many people can't answer that fucking question. Those people I never hire, obviously. But first of all, you know, so I was trying to answer this for myself, so I spent a lot of time researching it. And when I say research, I mean I did like 10 Google searches. And but the coolest answers I found, not the most sexy, but the coolest answers I found were things like this. CEO of the product. Most famously quoted by Andreessen Horowitz in his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. One of my favorite books. He wrote that about 20 years ago. Fantastic book. One of my favorites. Highly recommend it. Second thing is, you are the voice of the user. Now I love product managers that say that to me. Yeah, man, you gotta be like the voice of the user. You gotta know what they want. You gotta get those features that they will love. Okay, these are interesting, and there's a lot of other ones. Define a roadmap, create a strategy, align stakeholders, blah blah blah, metrics, yada yada yada. But these are the coolest ones I hear, and I get this stuff during interviews all the time. I'm brave to say things like that, I think. So let's start with something. You're not the CEO of the product. You're nowhere close. You're closer to this fucking guy. You get all the fucking responsibilities, all the KPIs, all the metrics, but guess what? You got no fucking power. You can't tell departments what to do. You can't tell sales to ship less features. You can't tell marketing that you don't care about their stupid blue and the shades of black. You don't care about that. You can't tell engineers to work harder. You can't tell engineers to build more features. Hell no! You ain't the CEO of nothing! Remember that! You are, one thing though, you're the CEO of fucking opportunity. Things you should be doing that you know will have impact. You're the fucking king of opportunity. That's your goddamn job. You look for fucking opportunities. The thing is, you're not the voice of the user either. You think you are, but you're not. You might even want to be, but you're not. It's not your job. I'm gonna give you an example why not. See these things? Increase the site speed, simplify the funnel, redesign the UI, launch a new mobile app, fix those fucking bugs. Guess what? All these things, great goddamn user experiences if they went live. But guess what happens when they don't bring impact? You turn out like this German guy. Yeah. At the end of the year, when you get evaluated on your job performance, do you think everyone cares how users feel about your features? No. What they care about is you're not the voice of the fucking user. You're the voice of impact. You're the voice of business metrics that grow. And to put it simply, a strong product manager is a person who finds opportunity and creates impact. Now, this is super important because forget every single thing you know, all right? Because it's not that you own the experience. It's not that you own the whole idea of product management. What you own is the ability to look for opportunities that you should pursue, and you find a way to bring that impact into the company. All else, everything else, falls way under that line. That is the most important metric as a product manager you can ever define. Nothing else is more important. And in a way, it's everyone's fucking job in the company. It doesn't matter what your role is. Intern, to customer service, to VP of marketing. That's your job. Find opportunities and create fucking impact. Now, technically, on paper, this is how I describe a strong-ass product manager. First of all, he knows technology. He knows some dope-ass slogans like React.js. He knows PHP. He knows what's fast. He knows AMP pages. He knows all that stuff. He's all into technology. He's got a good idea about design. He understands what a good user experience is. He can give a designer good feedback on user experience. Then, he's also very good at business strategy. He understands market landscape. He understands growth. He understands opportunity. He understands business. And this one, a little more hard to find, he's also influential. He can influence a lot of people to see things the way he sees it. He's able to lead a group of people with very broken priorities into one single direction. He gets everybody amped the fuck up about one opportunity. And if you combine all this, you have the dopest product manager in the world or fucking Batman. But here's the problem. The problem that I'm talking about today, those three bubbles on the left and top, not the point. It's mainly this bubble that you have a problem with. You're not good at that. If you hate your job, you're probably not very good at the influence part. So this is a time where I say, fuck Batman, you need goddamn Bruce Wayne. You need to be a Bruce Wayne at your job. You need to be damn good at convincing people on what works. But how to do it? Not so easy, but I have some suggestions. So, first of all, you gotta accept the fact you're not the CEO of anything. You don't have that power. I don't have that power. I like to think I do on the weekends, but I don't. What I have is my ability and the things I spend time on, and I focus that. And that's my power to influence other people to see things the way I see them. So your job is not to overpower departments with your data and your surveys and your reasoning. It's to explain and to teach people through influence how they should be looking at problems, and more specifically, how they should be looking at opportunities. And here are 3 ways to do that. The first thing is, you gotta be super fucking allergic. I'll tell you what that means in a second. Second thing, you're gonna make decisions fast. Third thing, you need to create a shared vocabulary. Let me go into detail about this stuff. So, from this point on, for the next 4 weeks, do yourself a favor. In your personal life and in your work life. Don't fucking say these 4 words ever. Never say roadmap. Never say backlog. Don't say but, and don't say no. So don't ever say this sentence. Well, the roadmap is blocked, and we gotta backlog the item, but no. Don't say that. Never say that. That's like the holy 4 words you don't want to say in a sentence. So the next time someone comes to you with a feature idea, because they always do that, right? Like when I go to Christmas parties or summer party, I get swarms of people lining up and be like, Johnny, I got an idea for a feature. It's fucking dope. You should do it. Thank you, intern. Okay, talk to you later. And then, hey, Johnny, got a fucking dope idea. Thank you, CEO. I'll talk to you later. You know, so, like, the first thing you should do is not say no. The second you should know, never talk about the roadmap. Third thing you should do, don't talk about backlogging anything. I want you to say yes. Always say yes. And then, this brings you to a different level of consciousness. Because now, you've really reached the true level of curiosity. When you say yes, and someone goes, Johnny, we should make all the buttons hot pink. And I'll be like, yes. Walk me through that. Tell me why. I want to know why you think pink is dope. I think it's a great idea. But let's go through it together. So it's not, yeah, maybe, but the roadmap is full, so might have to backlog it. Instead, it's, yeah, that is really cool. Let's talk about it in detail right now. And you're gonna go through that shit. And you're gonna spend so much time in meetings going through dumb ideas that you hate. But you're gonna say yes. And you're gonna listen. And you're gonna listen to every word. And you're gonna understand why they're excited about it. And when you do that, you might be able to suggest something that is better and that is more impactful, that they would understand. And the second part is, they understand how you think. That's the most important part. You say yes, they explain, you give feedback, they listen, now they understand your thought process. And when they do that, they're gonna see hot pink buttons as a stupid ass idea too. And that's what you're gonna get them to. Second thing is, don't replace this altogether, yeah? No, no, no. The roadmap is full. Never say that. Say, yes, let's go through that right now. I want to hear exactly what's in your mind. I'm excited about your stupid hot pink, great hot pink color. So let the times in which you would reject someone, turn it into an experience where you can actually listen and teach those people how you're thinking about their ideas. So this is what I call the chart of desire. So on the x-axis, as we say in product management, you have the amount of desire. And on the y-axis, as we say in data, you have the amount of time. And the longer someone waits for something, the more likely they're gonna want it. That's why I'm in the bottom left and Aquaman's in the top right. And so this is what I mean when I say you need to make decisions fast. Because if someone comes to you with a super exciting idea that they're fucking boiling about, and you said, let me do some research and some data looking and stuff, and maybe ask some users, and then I'll come back with the answer. Imagine how that feels. And imagine how that feels. You're super excited about something. You go tell someone, they go, yeah, let me take like 2 weeks to think about it. Let me go 2 weeks to do some research, come back with an answer that like, roadmap's full. You don't want to do that. Because in those 2 weeks, that motherfucker is getting excited about his idea. He's like, I can't wait for those hot pink buttons. Oh my God! Don't do that. But you shouldn't make decisions super fast. You should make decisions equally as fast as how important the decision is. And this goes along with how much time you should spend researching concepts. So, if you have to evaluate an idea, what you should not do is spend 2 weeks evaluating a button color. Find the minimum amount of information you need to make a good decision and explain it to someone. Or, better yet, as someone brings it up, spend the time to find the answer in the meeting right there. It will save you so much pain in the long run. And remember, the bigger the ask, the more data and more time you should spend. But the smaller the ask, most of the time I see these things happen all the time where the idea or the concept is so small that you spend 5 hours talking about it, and it becomes that 5 hours you could have built it, I think. And that happens all the time, right? Should we change it to this color? Should it be this word? Blah, 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 blah. Guess what? By the time you're done with that meeting, I could have just done it 3 times over and changed it 4th time. But make decisions fast, because people will appreciate that. And they will appreciate the fact that you are spending your time to think about their ideas. And if you take a long time and the answer is negative, that feels like you didn't really care and you didn't really do research, even if you did. So always time-bound your thought process with the people you're speaking to. It really, really, really helps. So the final thing, probably the most important, or the second most important, I think. Guys, there are no bugs. There are no features. There are no experiments. There are no products. What is there? I think you guys should know this. I've repeated it 27 times in this talk. It's only one thing. Only one single thing. There is opportunity. Nothing else in your life as a product manager matters except opportunity. Remember that word. Everything is an opportunity. No bugs, no features, no roadmap, no experiments. Just opportunity. What is the opportunity when we fix the bug? What is the opportunity of releasing this feature? What is the opportunity of running this experiment? Opportunity. Draw everything into an equation that equals an opportunity. Then you compare every fucking opportunity like this. This is how I, at a high level, very quickly think about any idea or feature or experiment or roadmap. I define opportunity as the audience times the expected impact, subtract the cost. Very simple, very simple. But when you do this, and you do it with every feature, roadmap, for every feature, every bug, every experiment, every product, you can drill everything down into one common metric. Could be revenue, could be users, could be activity, but drill everything into one solid metric. And when you do that, I want you to then compare every opportunity against every opportunity. And then you want to compare it to a third opportunity. And then you want to compare another opportunity. And then you want to compare it to more opportunities. And you want to keep comparing opportunities all fucking day. Because only then do you truly understand how it really is to make decisions that matter. Because only in this way do you truly know you're building the most impactful shit ever. Because if you just look at the 2 opportunities in front of you, and you come up with, oh, should I fix this bug or release this feature? There's a million things you should be doing. And you need to find all those things, and you need to think through all those things, and you need to spend time understanding all those things. Opportunity is the most important thing as a product manager. And finally, I have one final thing to show you. You gotta learn to listen. You really, really gotta do. I don't have any fancy slides about this. I don't even have any advice on how to do it, except you gotta practice it. But you got to listen. Like, really listen to people talk. And do this. Don't talk for 2 seconds after someone talks. Take a fucking breath. Right now. And when you do that, it does 2 things. It allows the other person to finish their sentence or finish their thought. And the second thing is, it gives you a chance to absorb what they said, and then you say yes. And then you say, I'm going to walk through it with you right now, and I'm going to understand everything you're trying to talk about, and I'm going to understand what you're excited about in this stupid pink button. I'm going to learn that. If you do this, and you teach people how to look at opportunities, okay? And you make decisions fast when you're talking to people, and you spend the time to really understand people's problems, you might one day become this, so, you might one day get to this level where you're not saying no to futures, instead you say yes to discovery. You're going to be fast, but you're going to calibrate it to the importance. Okay? The more important it is, the longer time you should spend looking at data and surveys and research. The less important it is, try to make a decision fast. You want to view the entire fucking universe in opportunities. What girl should I go on a date with today? Opportunity. What should I eat today? What's the opportunity of pizza versus tuna? What is the opportunity of running an experiment? What is the opportunity of fixing this goddamn typo? Think about fixing typos. The opportunity is probably very small because the impact is probably nothing. You ever thought about that? But you always sit there fixing typos. Finally, learn to listen, because all these things do one thing. They build trust. And they build trust in a magical way. Because imagine someone's interacting with you, you're listening. You say yes, you're a positive guy. You walk them through their idea, you show them what you're thinking, then you listen to what they're thinking. Then you teach them a thing or two about opportunities and how to look at things like a product manager. And finally, they learn to listen to you when you talk. And if you're lucky, super lucky, you get to rise to the highest level of product manager. Motherfucking Tom Hanks, baby! Most trusted human in the world. This is not a joke. Well, it's probably a joke, but I don't know. This is important, because the first time someone interacts with you, they come with you a super fantastic idea they're excited about, and you do all those things, guess what happens the next time they come to you? You can just be like, hey, let's walk through that thing, and they're like, I already did it. It was a bad opportunity. And you're gonna be like, God damn, it worked! And your rest of your goddamn life in your job, you'll love it. Because everyone will trust you. Because you showed them the generosity of saying yes the first time you spoke to them. And it's very fucking important. Because this is how you build trust in an organization. This is how you build trust in life. And this is how you move further in your career. Because most product managers are fucking good at UI. Most product managers are okay at business strategy. And most product managers understand technology. But very fucking few product managers are very good at influence. It's the thing that separates the 1 goddamn %. And that's all because of how well you listen to people. So, I'm gonna end this talk with my favorite thing I've seen in the last 6 months. Which is a very shocking thing. It's a poem. It's my favorite poem I've ever read. And I'm gonna read it for you. When we listen, we offer with our attention an opportunity for wholeness. Our listening creates a sanctuary for the homeless parts within the other person. That which has been denied, unloved, devalued by themselves and by others, that which is hidden. In this culture, the soul and the heart too often go homeless. Listening creates a holy silence. And when you listen generously to people, they can hear the truth in themselves, often for the first time. And in the silence of listening, you can know yourself in everyone. And eventually, you may be able to hear in everyone and beyond everyone the unseen singing softly to itself into you. Thank you.
Cool, thank you very much, Johnny. Did I promise too much? Okay, so Jenny, now the Q&A, and we can make this a bit long because it's only going to be one talk today. I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think I'm fairly influential, but how do you interview for that?
Tell them a stupid ass idea and see what they say. No, really. I don't interview for that because when I ask, why are you leaving your current position? You can already know by the reasons they're giving you and how they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with these annoying stakeholders and constantly fighting priorities, or they don't have an experience to approaching it. And if you dig into, okay, so what did you do about the problem? The problems and the lack of experience in this topic, it really arises. And it becomes pretty crystal clear that this person will have the same problem in your company. Yeah.
Okay, easy. Other
Not
questions?
complicated. Silence is listening.
Are you?
How do you do this?
You just maybe talk loud and then I'll go mic one step to the back.
I'll repeat the question.
Okay, great talk. I really enjoyed it. One detail about, basically about getting stuff written down. Do you ever ask people to write stuff down themselves, or do you always make sure that you write it yourself after you've talked to them?
Somebody hates confidence in Jira, I can hear.
Are you talking about meeting notes or like decisions or something like that?
I'm talking, so you like to talk to people right away, and I think that's great. You don't always have all the time in the world right then at that moment to understand everything. So when that happens, do you ask people to write down what they want, or do you like reschedule your talk, try to understand it yourself, and then write it yourself down?
So the question is, when someone asks you a question or request or something like that, do you write down the idea, try to absorb it yourself, and then maybe speak to them later? So the reason why I always say yes, and you should always make decisions quickly, is because in the moment when someone's excited about something, that's probably the best moment to work it out on a whiteboard right there. And sometimes it takes 20 minutes, sometimes it takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes an hour. And sometimes you don't have time. But it's about portraying a sense of urgency to the person that it's important to you as well. And for me, I don't look at things by myself. But what I do is, and most product managers have this, they have some kind of mental model where they're like, that's probably like 10 users, it's pointless. But I don't say that. I say yes. And I go through it. And when they show the idea, then I go through the math of how many people it affects, and then they go, oh, 10 users, that's a bit sad. So the kind of point I'm trying to make is that in real time together is the key. It's not about how much time you spend understanding the problem, even though that's also appreciated. But if the idea is small enough and it's fast enough to go through a whiteboard and you kind of know the answer in your head, you want to be able to walk people through that. So the time-bound idea where you have to maybe do a bit deeper research, like you don't have everything in front of you, yes. But I think often what happens with product managers is people come to them and they say, yeah, let me look into it, I'll get back to you. And that is a very fucking damning statement, because that could mean to them 5 minutes, 2 hours, next day, next week, but to you it's when you have time. And so if you're going to do that, I would just time bound it. It's like, hey, I don't have time right now, I really am interested in hearing more. Can we talk in 1 week while I spend a little more time gathering some information? And then you don't present the information, still let them go for the idea, and then walk through what you've seen together and show them how you calculated it and how you went for every step. But time-bound your answer, I think, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes, sir?
So I was going to ask a question around the differences between early stage product management and later stage product management, because I get the sense that you've been in both. But I think I want to target my question even further. So when when the opportunity cost equation is not all quantitative in the early stages, when it's a lot more intuitive, what is your opportunity cost equation? What would you give to an early stage product manager who really, I mean, it's 50 to 75% intuitive when you don't have the data. How do you adjust your equation for that kind of thing, or would you even, what would you do?
So the question is, how would I change my approach in a smaller scale company versus a bigger one where you have less data?
Yeah, and how would you be influential without data? Because it's largely based on intuition and vision and alignment and stuff like that.
Yeah, very good question. Typically, I think for when I speak to companies that are very small in scale, like 10 guys or 20 girls or whatever, right? And they lack a lot of data, right? That makes a lot of sense, because why would you have data if you don't have a company or a business yet? What I always say is, well, look, there is always some data that exists in this world. There's benchmarks, there's things like that. And for startups, if you think about what successfully grows a startup, maybe there's like 7 different things. Maybe it's price, maybe it's positioning, maybe it's brand, maybe it's acquisition strategy, maybe it's value for the user. But when you're very small, you can only really focus on one of those things. And that in itself gives you a very deep focus of what you should be doing. But when you're small, you're also trying everything because you don't know what works, right? And for me, what I try to do is I try to use best practices for 90% of the decisions. So I go, well, this company did it should be okay. Oh, Google says that's fine, do it. But the idea is to make those decisions quickly and focus on the thing that you think your startup has the most advantage over. And I'll give you an example. Let's say we started Amazon tomorrow, and it didn't exist. And there's a lot of these retail stores and they're selling shit. And we're like, we're gonna build Amazon. And Amazon's gonna be dope. But what's gonna be the dopest thing about Amazon? It's gonna be the cheapest. And we're gonna ship that shit online. So, when you spend time building Amazon tomorrow, you're not gonna focus on the logo. You're not gonna focus on how good the experience is. You're not gonna focus on the coolest technology. You're gonna focus on how can we get the lowest fucking prices and ship it to people. And when you think like that, and you unify a company around that thinking, it helps a lot to bring that level of laser focus that you don't have when you're young. And then maybe that focus changes every few weeks. That's okay too. But so on top of that, I always look at best practices. I always look at, you could do qualitative research, you could just send out surveys, you could just ask people. But once again, best practices, 90% of the time, 10% of the time, 100% focus on how to really bring the one thing you're good at as a company. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hi. I like the part about that you focus on influence. The other thing is, I'm slightly puzzled about not paying attention to details. I'm one of these persons who tend to fix their typos, for example, because I think attention to detail builds trust. I mean, it depends on the company and on the type of conversation maybe you're leading and so on, but I think that the small details, it's not always the biggest impact, but that you have compound effect of doing small things that are right. So how do you go about and say this has the biggest impact, but this is important of building compound impact in the long run?
So the question is, how do you make decisions on very small, impactful things? That, if you do a lot of them, there is a compound impact at some point. And how do you approach that, I guess you could say? Very good question. Maybe an example of this is like a typo, or maybe having a better logo, or maybe writing a sentence better. Those are examples of things like that. And yes, it's absolutely a challenging thing, that it's very hard to measure the independent impact of one of those things. But in theory, they should have an impact if you do all these small things together. But that's a theory, right? And it's very actually hard to prove all these things all the time. So for me, when I think about things like that, there has to be sometimes in your roadmap or your plan or whatever, in your mental space, you have to allocate some percentage of those things in which are small enough to fit in a time span, but not going to break any other major plans. And so when I think about this, I think of it like a finance problem. It's about diversifying your funds, right? So if you have X amount of resources, you want to invest 95% in the most kind of solid things. Those are the retirement investments, and those are the very slow bonds that grow over time. But then you invest the remaining 5-10% in small things like that, which you think are delightful, but maybe not impactful right now. And then the other 5, maybe you invest in some very risky things, turning the button 4 times bigger, changing the logo to be upside down. So I think allocating that space to think about those things is important. However, I think the most common mistake I see with this scenario is people assume they're actually impactful when they do 20 of those things. But the issue with that thinking is by the time you do the 18th thing, it still might not be impactful. So the risk is equally as dangerous as what you might think the reward is. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't fix typos. I'm saying I don't fix typos. No, I'm saying that there's obviously some level of which you're like, fuck, okay, I fixed a goddamn typo, Because yeah, it does hurt things at the end of the day at a very zoomed out scale over a long amount of time. But you gotta understand that when you're in a company, you're playing a different kind of game. Sometimes you're playing the long game. You're trying to build a company that's gonna last 100 years. And sometimes you're fucking 5 people trying to make it. And sometimes you can't worry about typos. But at a very big company where you have 600 people and you got tons of product managers and engineers, yes, fix the typos. Yeah. Yes? First.
How far in the future do you plan for your team and product?
It's like 5 minutes or something. I don't know. Like this talk I did in 7 minutes. When you say plan, can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so we have this thought
very often that we have to think about the product vision and lead the product towards the right place and everything, but sometimes in reality, it really feels like a luxury that we don't have. We may get caught in the execution every day, and I want to see like how do you balance this, thinking about the future of the product and
So the question is, how do I think about the life cycle of the product in a short, medium, and long-term point of view? Right?
yeah, basically how do you define the vision or how long the future is?
Okay. Sure. So how do I define the vision of short-term, mid-term, kind of long-term?
Yeah, that's a really big question, I know, but I think
No.
yeah.
It's okay. I'm a big guy. Yeah. So that's a good question. And this is how it's going to work. For me, we set quarterly goals. We don't set quarterly features. It's kind of silly. We set goals that are related to metrics every quarter. And how you get to those goals, I don't really care. I don't care if you turn the whole website upside down. I don't care. You just have to hit those goals as a product manager in my team. And you have to do it at all costs. So that is the midterm. But then we say to ourselves, what is the long-term vision for the product? And I love this question because people always ask me this, even my CEO, right? And it's a funny question because I'm like, what's your long-term goals for the business? And he'll say, make more money. And I'd be like, that's my fucking goal too, man. So that's the fucking truth. I can't really say it differently. I mean, what if my CEO's goal is to make more money and then my goal is to make a super dope app? Seems kind of stupid, right? So, and this is what the whole point about opportunity. You know, you have to drill everything down into the same goddamn number so you can compare number to number, right? But if someone goes, the company's goal is to grow by 400% in revenue in 2 years, what's the product strategy? You should say the same. It's true. I mean, what else would it be? Maybe 50% growth. Maybe release some more features. It's kind of pointless, right? You know, I think product management is the result of a long time ago where engineers, quote unquote, didn't have business understanding, you know, and business people did. Just kind of stupid to say, but. And so it's kind of a position that was born out of not a real need, but an organizational need. And because of this, we've been so focused on our titles as people, we don't understand the point of being in the company. It's always make more money. It's always grow. It's always scale. It's always get to the next thing, you know? And so, for me, the long-term vision is, I think only maybe 2 or 3 years ahead at the highest level, but I think of the business level first, and what that means in terms of features, right? So I never start at the product vision, like, I want to be the dopest travel app in the world. No, I don't care about that. I care more about, can we get 500,000 million in evaluation, and how can we do that, and what does that look like in terms of our marketing and in terms of our product in metrics. And then I think about, if I need to get 500% growth in the conversion rate in my mobile app, what the fuck does that look like? Right? That's where you should start. Don't start with, man, it should be blue, I think. Fuck that shit. You gotta start with the numbers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Scared? Yes.
So, from what I hear from you, you're very monetization driven. And there are different...
Money.
Yeah, money. It's all about the money. There are different approaches though. There are people like Basecamp that go more into the area of you want to build the greatest product for our customers, then the money will come. Then there are guys like you, monetize everything, sell everything. For me, it would be interesting to understand, based on your opinion, what the ratio should be between monetizing your product and actually building features for the long term so that the user base can grow, etc., etc.
So the question is about balancing revenue-driven decisions with value for users, for example. Okay. So think about it for a second. You're the CEO of a company, and you need to grow revenue. Like, you got to do it, right? It's the only way you're going to survive. And in this world, and it is, by the way, a coincidence. People don't understand this, but it is a coincidence that most of the time, when you build a good user experience or good value for a user, like when you build a good experience, most of the time, it helps your bottom line. It grows your business. People like it, people use it, people tell people about it. Most of the time. Not 100% of the time. And I think the key here is that value for a user is not defined by features. It's defined by values. I'll give you an example. Craigslist is my favorite example. It's this site that offers so much value to people. You go in there, you can sell shit, and someone's gonna buy it. Amazing. You go in there, you can buy shit someone else is selling. Amazing. Terrible experience. Blue text links on a fucking whiteboard. Not pretty, not easy to use. Maybe it's a little bit better now, but it's always been ugly. But yet the value is there. So the value keeps your customers at 80% of the time. And that user experience you're talking about brings them to the next 10%. But the key is, if a bad user experience grew business, everybody would have bad user experience. That's a fact. So understand this. When you design or think about a great user experience, it's fortunate that it actually increases your revenue. But never assume that doing that will increase your business. That's the mistake I see most people make. They assume they are one in one. They are often aligned, but not always. But the key, the 10% part where they don't align, that's the part where you, as a product manager, really needs to think. You always have to separate user experience from growth. Good experience from bad. It doesn't matter. Think about those things in independent values and independent metrics, and then you will see that there's opportunities that you ignored because you thought they were bad user experience. I'll give you one more specific example. A funnel. Most people think when you make a funnel more simple, it's a better user experience. But how do you know? More people convert. But have you ever made a funnel worse and people converted better? Fuck yeah, this shit happens a lot. But why do we always assume good user experience with higher conversion rate? This is a very common misconception. Because number one, you yourself, you don't know what the fuck good is. You don't know what good is. You think you know what good is because you know what good looks like. But good, what looks like doesn't mean it actually performs better. And remember, your goal is to get more people to use your product because you think your product offers value. That's your key. You want to get more people to use your product. So if the whole point of a good user experience is to get more people to use your product, then what is the metric you should be looking at? Those kind of numbers. So I'm not a monetization guy necessarily. I'm a guy who says get more people to use this thing at all costs. So you can provide good experience, and that might get you there. And that will get you there at some level. But there's some stretch at the end that is really where the growth finds itself. I think, and by releasing and disconnecting those two facts, it's a lot easier to explore those ideas. Yeah. Any more?
One last question.
Finale. Make it good, no pressure. Just say.
Over here. Sorry.
Oh, you got two. Okay, second to last.
Cool. I'll go first because I've got the mic. Thanks.
Damn.
The situation is, if you're a small company hiring the first product manager, you probably can't get the perfect person. Which of those dimensions is most coachable out of the four? So, you're going to have to cut corners somewhere. What's a good corner to cut?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. If you had to hire a product manager, of the four corners, which ones would you cut? I don't think you need to cut all of them. I don't think you need to cut any of them. I think what you need is to find someone that's interested in getting better at all of them. That's the key. Get someone who's 10% everything. Don't get someone who's 90% in one way. Unless you specifically need a technical one because of your model or whatever, right? So I think it mostly depends on what your company needs at the time. So I could be backtracking on my word here, but for me, a generalist at a very early stage, as you probably heard, is probably the best. And that person will find his groove and he'll become more cornered, you could say. But yeah, I think it's get the person with the 5 or 10% of everything who's interested in getting better at all of them. I think that's the key because that person's got to be fucking hungry, at the first day. Yeah. Okay, now it's really the final version, 3, final.
This is more like asking for an advice. So you also mentioned that it's very important to influence people. Currently, I'm starting a career as a product manager, and I would like to know, how do you bring your enthusiasm to the other people? So there are lots of super experienced engineers, and they all have their arguments, and then you enter the meeting, and you're super excited, you have a very nice presentation with gifts, whatever, but how do you make it happen that at the end of the sprint, they are like, yeah, we've done it, and that we actually as a team succeed? do you have like the golden rule that you always apply? If you can, of course, give it to us.
Yeah, I give you whatever I got. So the question is, what is one thing I could do today to make more people understand what I want to get done? Or one thing I could do today to really align a lot of different people, right? So I have an answer. I'm not sure it's the best answer, but it's something worth trying and you can report back. It's something I tell everyone the first day they start their new job as a product manager, or maybe they've had 4 jobs and they start a new job. And I think the most experienced product managers and all the good blogs, they kind of mention this. On your first day, before you start, or sorry, when you start, before you do any decisions, yes?
Just for later, I would like to add something.
Okay, sure. That was very preemptive. So on your first day, on your very first day, before you interact with anyone on a professional manner, before you go to any meetings, before you plan any sprints, before you write any tickets, before you even look at one fucking number, I think you should do this. You should think about every single person you're going to work with on a weekly basis. Every person, list them out in the company. Marketing manager, pilot, engineer 1, engineer 2, designer 4, UX guy. Get all those people on the list, and then I would like you to send a Slack message to them, and you should say this. Hi, my name is Johnny motherfucking Kwok. Don't say that. The motherfucking part, but say the Johnny Kwok. Say, hi, I'm so-and-so. What can I do to help you? Start there. Start there. And if you do this for every single person as the first interaction you ever have with someone, I promise you, they'll like you a lot better and they'll listen a lot deeper the first time you talk. And the first time you disagree, they're going to remember that first thing you said to them is, how can I help you? And when you ask that question, listen. Don't assume, listen to everything. Because, and sorry, it's getting a little long, but when I joined AirHelp 2.5 years ago, I did this exercise. And I did this with every executive, every second level manager, and one of the executives that I work with still to this day, she was the VP of Operations, she still is the VP of Operations. I sat down, we have a 1-hour meeting, I say, hi, I'm Johnny motherfucking Kwok. How can I help you? She said, I fucking hate the product team. That's what she said. She said, my fucking problem is the goddamn fucking product team. They never release shit on time. They don't understand the process. They don't understand what my team is doing. I got 300 people and they're using it's really bad. I just sat there and took that shit for 20 minutes. And then I said, okay, so how can I help you make that better? She gave me a roadmap to winning her trust. A fucking roadmap. No, a checklist. Yeah. Can you make the product managers understand how my team works? Easy enough. Check. Can you make the product managers, fucking like attend our weekly meetings? Check. Stuff I don't have to do. Can you make the product managers spend more time doing what the customer service agents do so they know what they should be building? Very easy for me to say. Check. So guess what? I have a roadmap to building and gaining her trust. And if I go through and I do all those things, which it took me 2 years to do, then that relationship becomes very healthy. And that is a fact. And that's why I always advise people, ask people how you can help